In a quiet neighborhood in Springfield, a crime scene emerged that would leave the community in shock. On a chilly evening in October, a chilling discovery shocked the peaceful suburb. Ariana Thompson, a local shop owner, was the first to stumble upon the scene. She went for her evening walk when she noticed something unusual near the old park. A sense of unease washed over her as she drew closer. The park, usually filled with laughter and joy, was now wrapped in silence. The victim was a young man named Ace Turner. Ace, only 25 years old, was well known in Springfield. He worked at a nearby cafe and was loved by many. He had many friends and a bright future ahead. His light, cheerful personality made people feel good, and he often volunteered at the local animal shelter. On this tragic night, Ace's life was suddenly cut short. The area became a tragic stage for a crime that no one saw coming. As Ariana called the police, her heart raced in fear. The police arrived swiftly, sealing off the park. They began to investigate the scene. They reported it was dark, making their search difficult. The air felt cold and heavy. This was not the lively place where children played a few hours before. Neighbors heard the sirens and rushed to their windows, hearts pounding with worry. The first reports indicated something terrible had happened. Authorities found Ace lying on the ground, and he had been hurt. The officers worked quickly but carefully. They did not want to disturb any evidence surrounding them. This clear scene, recently loved by families, was now a place filled with sadness and fear. How could this happen in their safe community? The initial reactions were shocking. Many people could not believe it. Who would hurt Ace? They wondered. Some thought it might have been an accident. Others believed it could be something more sinister. Rumors began to grow among the people gathered outside. Some believed it had to do with a fight. Others thought it might be related to a robbery. Everyone was trying to understand what had happened, but no one had the answers yet. A few close friends of Ace, who had also arrived at the scene, were crying. They could not comprehend the event unfolding in front of them. They spoke to reporters and shared their disbelief. Ace was kind. He never hurt anyone, said one friend. This added to the mystery. Who could do something so cruel to such a gentle person? As the police gathered information, some neighbors felt scared. Is this place still safe? They asked each other. They worried about the safety of their families. It was unsettling to think that someone could be lurking nearby. The scene felt filled with fear and uncertainty. How could they be sure it would not happen again? This case would lead investigators down a complicated path. Questions lingered as people tried to make sense of tragedy in their community. The journey to uncover the truth had just begun. Ace's tragic fate opened the door to the mysteries that awaited further exploration. As police arrived at the crime scene, the focus shifted quickly to gathering information about the tragedy that struck Springfield. The lead detective, Officer Mark Jensen, took charge of the investigation. With years of experience, he felt the weight of responsibility. He knew he had to solve this crime not just for Ace, but also for the townspeople who felt scared and confused. The community was looking for answers, and the pressure was on to find them. Detective Jensen began by calling for forensic experts to collect evidence. They took pictures of the crime scene. They searched for fingerprints and any clues that could help them understand what happened. While this process unfolded, a team of officers began interviewing witnesses. Neighbors who had seen or heard anything that night were called in for statements. Everyone hoped to find a lead, a small piece of information that could help. One neighbor recalled seeing a dark figure near the park shortly before the police arrived. This testimony raised eyebrows among the officers. Who was the person, and why were they there? The frigid air seemed full of unease as people wondered about the mysterious figure. Was this someone who had involvement in the crime, or was it just a coincidence? Meanwhile, forensic teams were busy inside a lab, analyzing what they found at the scene. They gathered fibers from Ace's clothing and collected any materials they could examine. This evidence could help form connections to possible suspects. Every detail was essential. Officers hoped this would lead to understanding the motive and the true reasons behind Ace's death. Simultaneously, detectives reviewed surveillance footage from nearby stores and street cameras. They spent hours looking for any signs of Ace, as well as anything unusual in the footage. Was he with someone before the crime? Did anyone follow him during the evening? Each second was crucial in piecing together the puzzle, making the future of the investigation very tense. As the investigation progressed, some individuals began to act strangely. One man named Tom, a known neighbor who often walked in the park, suddenly disappeared. This worried the investigators. His disappearance made them wonder if he knew too much about what happened. Why did he leave so quickly? Was he afraid? Other people who were close to Ace started giving inconsistent stories to the police. Some friends said they were at home, while others reported spending time together at different places. This made detectives suspicious. If their stories did not match up, what did they hide? Could these inconsistencies link them to the crime? The detectives noted every detail, working to uncover any hidden truths. With each new clue discovered, the tension grew. The community watched closely as the investigation unfolded. Families worried about their safety while hoping for justice for Ace. Everywhere in Springfield, there were whispers about who might be involved or what really happened. Despite the fear in the air, the investigation carried a promise of progress and hope. Officers knew that answers were out there waiting to be found. They were focused on bringing peace and clarity back to their beloved town. As the investigation continued, small but crucial clues began to surface. Detectives worked long hours, searching through Ace's life to find any missing pieces. It turned out that Ace had reported a few strange encounters in the weeks before his death. He mentioned seeing a man who seemed to follow him sometimes. He had even gotten tense when asked about it. This man became a point of interest for investigators. Could this individual connect to his tragic fate? Detective Jensen gathered details about this odd figure. He started asking questions at local cafes where Ace worked. Some colleagues remembered Ace mentioning the man, but did not know his name. They described him as having dark hair and an unusual way of staring. These descriptions created a clearer image for the detectives. Investigators searched for any leads relating to this unidentified person. Meanwhile, another strange coincidence came to light. The police learned of another person who had gone missing in the area last month. This person had also been close to Ace. The missing person had mentioned feeling unsafe for an unspecified reason. This connection raised alarms among detectives. They realized there could be a larger pattern, and they needed to explore these connections further. However, not everything was straightforward. As the investigation progressed, detectives faced complications. Some witnesses provided false leads, either out of fear or confusion. One lady claimed to see a fight that night, but later changed her story. She said it was just a loud argument between two friends. Each new inconsistency made the detectives' job harder. They had to carefully analyze every piece of information and stay focused on the facts. Media attention began to grow as well. News outlets launched headlines about Ace's death. They described the crime in a way that caught everyone's attention, but sometimes added noise to the investigation. The officers felt pressure from reporters hungry for a story. Each time they stepped outside to speak to the community, they faced spotlights and cameras. The detectives hoped the intense focus would help them find answers, but feared it could also scare off potential witnesses. People might hesitate to come forward if they felt too much attention surrounded the case. As new details emerged, conflicting reports made the situation even more complex. There were rumors online claiming various suspects were responsible for Ace's death. The detectives understood the importance of sticking to documented evidence. Still, they had to address these rumors to prevent community panic. The officers arranged public meetings to share what they could, while respecting the ongoing investigation. The call for calm gradually spread through the community, but people remained anxious and curious. At the same time, Detective Jensen kept his focus on the critical clues. He made sure to interview anyone who seemed connected to Ace. Each conversation was another chance to unravel the truth. With thorough examination and careful detective work, they were determined to shine light on the dark shadows surrounding Ace's case. Though the road ahead seemed tough, the hope for justice guided them. Detectives were aware that with each step forward, they got closer to uncovering the truth behind this tragic event. The investigation took a dramatic turn when police received unexpected news from the forensic lab. A DNA sample collected from the crime scene matched someone in the database. For weeks, evidence seemed scattered, but this breakthrough offered a new direction. The DNA belonged to a man named Michael Reed, who had a record for minor offenses. This surprising piece of evidence shocked the entire team. They had not connected Michael to Ace before. How could a string of past mistakes lead to something so serious? Detective Jensen decided to dig deeper into Michael's background. He learned that Michael had occasionally visited the cafe where Ace worked. Friends described him as a strange customer. Some felt uneasy around him, saying he often stared too long and acted out of place. This new information raised questions about what kind of relationship he had with Ace. Eventually, Jensen found out that Michael had been on his way to a fresh start. He had recently moved back to Springfield after being away for several years. Some friends remembered hearing that Michael had a rough time dealing with personal issues and financial troubles. Was this a reason for his violent behavior? Detectives wondered if something had pushed him toward a dangerous edge. It seemed Michael's past might connect him once more to the crime. The team carefully planned their next steps. They set out to arrest Michael, but a sense of caution filled the air. They understood that this could be a crucial moment, and it needed to be handled delicately. The detectives did not want to let emotions dictate the confrontation. Preparing a plan together gave them the strength to proceed with care. The day of the arrest arrived. Officers gathered outside a rundown apartment complex where Michael was known to live. The atmosphere felt heavy, with a mix of hope and anxiety. They moved quietly and methodically. It was critical not to alert him or cause panic in the community. Detective Jensen exchanged determined looks with his team, then headed towards the door. When they reached Michael's apartment, Detective Jensen knocked firmly, announcing their presence. Seconds turned into an eternity, but eventually they heard footsteps. The door opened slowly, revealing Michael's surprised face. "What do you want?" he asked, his eyes darting nervously. The officers introduced themselves and told him about the investigation. They believed he had vital information related to Ace's death. Tension filled the air. Michael's expression shifted from confusion to fear. He started to step back, trying to close the door. Detectives acted quickly, entering the apartment just in time. Michael's unusual behavior raised alarm among the officers. Why was he acting so defensively? There was no denying that something deeper lurked behind his frightened eyes, and they needed to know what it was. With a rapid succession of questions, Detective Jensen pressed for answers. "We know your DNA was found at the crime scene. Why were you there the night Ace died?" Michael's face drained of color as the gravity of the situation sank in. The moment felt electric, a turning point in the case where everything was on the line. The officers could feel the tension thick around them, pressed tight by unresolved questions and hidden truths. Whatever Michael had to say would likely change everything, and they were prepared to listen. The climax of the investigation had unfolded, leading them closer to the heart of the mystery behind the death of Ace Turner. As the pressure mounted in the small apartment, Michael Reed's demeanor began to shift. Initially, he seemed shocked and disoriented. His wide eyes flickered around the room as if seeking escape, but there was nowhere to hide. Detective Jensen continued to press for answers with a calm yet firm voice, trying to understand what happened that night. He knew that this moment could reveal key insights into Michael's actions and motivations. Slowly, Michael's bravado began to crack. "I didn't do anything," he insisted, his voice shaky. However, Detective Jensen remained steady. It was apparent that Michael was struggling under the stress of the situation. The evidence was clear. DNA linked him to the scene, but Michael continued to deny involvement. Each mention of the crime heightened his anxiety, and he fidgeted, avoiding eye contact with the detectives. Detective Jensen listened carefully, looking for signs of truth. "Michael," he said softly, "we know you were there that night. You need to be honest with us. It will help you." Michael shook his head. "I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time," he replied, almost pleading. As they continued the conversation, Michael's tone shifted from defiance to rationalization. He spoke about his struggles since returning to Springfield. Every word seemed to stem from fear and desperation. "I had no job, no money," he stated, rushing through every thought. He painted a picture of himself as a victim of circumstance, a person at the edge, pushed to make choices he might never have considered before. However, his reasoning did not add up. There was anger in his voice when he talked about Ace. It seemed he felt jealousy towards someone who appeared to have a good life. He had everything: friends, a job, a future. Why not me? This revelation sent chills through the room. The detectives noted the impressions of deep-rooted resentment and envy behind his words. Detective Jensen tightened the focus. "Did you feel you could take something from him? Was that your plan?" The question hung heavy in the air. Michael's expression changed again. The bravado faded, and his defensiveness gave way to something more alarming. "I wasn't going to hurt him," he shouted, but the tension revealed his frustration. It seemed he wanted to justify his actions, even if they had led to a terrible outcome. With emotions running high, Jensen sensed an opening. He leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "You can tell us the truth. No one will judge you more than you have already judged yourself. This is your chance." The words resonated with Michael in that moment, helping him to confront the reality of the darkness he faced. Finally, after seconds that felt like hours, Michael began to confess. "I just wanted to scare him, show him I was strong," he admitted carefully, his voice faltering. "Things got out of control. I never meant for any of this to happen." In those moments, his admission felt both revealing and tragic. A mix of fear and guilt washed over him, manifesting as tears welling in his eyes. The pressure of the investigation had led him to expose a truth he had long kept hidden. Detective Jensen recognized the critical moment in the case. While Michael's confession was fraught with complexity, it provided a pathway towards understanding the series of events that led to Ace's death. The idea of jealousy had driven him to unleash a terrible act, turning a conflict with tragic consequences. The psychological aspects of this crime had become clearer, adding a chilling depth to the investigation unfolding within that small room. After Michael Reed confessed, the legal process began. The grim shadow of Ace Turner's death loomed over everyone involved. As the case moved forward, the community was filled with mixed emotions. People spoke about justice, grief, and safety. Ace's family felt the deep sorrow of losing their son. They wanted to see justice served and hoped the trial could bring some peace to their hearts. The first step in the legal system was Michael's arraignment. He appeared in court, visibly shaken. As he walked in, he avoided the eyes of those in the audience. Members of Ace's family were there, searching for answers. Michael faced serious charges. He was accused of murder, and the strong evidence against him made many believe he would be found guilty. This moment was crucial for the community. It was the first time the public saw the justice system take action. As the trial began, many people attended every session, desperate to understand what had happened. The evidence presented was striking. Forensic experts discussed the DNA found at the crime scene, linking Michael to Ace's death without question. The jury listened carefully to the details. With emotions high and tensions rising, the atmosphere in the courtroom was tense. One of the most shocking elements of the trial was the testimonies from witnesses. Friends from Ace's cafe shared stories about their friendship. They recalled the kindness Ace showed to everyone, making his absence felt even deeper. Hearing these personal accounts left many in tears. They painted a vivid picture of a bright young man full of life who was torn away too soon. These strong, emotional testimonies created an intense backdrop for the trial. In a surprising turn, Michael's defense team presented an unexpected tactic. They argued that kindness and care had turned into a heated moment that spiraled out of control. They claimed Michael did not intend to kill Ace, but that he acted in a moment of rage. This argument fueled strong discussions in the courtroom. Many were left questioning whether Michael's poor past influenced his actions. Community members continued to express mixed feelings. Some believed in forgiveness and thought Michael deserved help rather than harsh punishment. Others insisted on accountability and justice for Ace. The trial captured the public's attention, drawing headlines and discussions among neighbors. The outcome mattered deeply, not just for Michael and Ace's family, but for everyone in Springfield. As days progressed, the jury deliberated over their verdict. Tension filled the air as the community held its breath, awaiting a final decision. When the verdict was announced, the courtroom went silent. Michael was found guilty of manslaughter, not murder. The reaction was immediate. Some in Ace's family expressed disappointment, feeling the verdict did not match the tragedy caused. The sentence seemed too light for those who loved Ace. Following the trial, Michael received a significant sentence, but there were still strong feelings of unrest. Many in the community felt a mix of sorrow and anger. They worried about safety and what it meant for their hometown. Ace's death had sparked a long conversation about violence, mental health, and the need for support systems. The trial brought these issues to the forefront. As Springfield processed the verdict, people reflected on their own lives. They began talking more about mental health, aiming to prevent such tragedies from happening again. The case had impacted not just individuals, but an entire community working towards healing. The journey was far from over, but it sparked hope for change and awareness moving forward. The trial of Michael Reed quickly became a high-profile case in Springfield. As news spread about Ace Turner's death and the events leading to the trial, community interest grew. Local media covered every detail, broadcasting updates on television and online. People tuned in, eager for the latest information about the court proceedings. This case was not just about crime. It touched on themes of mental health, friendship, and the struggle between right and wrong. As the verdict was announced, social media caught fire with reactions. Some expressed anger that Michael was convicted of manslaughter rather than murder. People shared their disappointment, believing the sentence was too lenient. Emotional posts flooded online platforms, with commenters voicing their support for Ace's family and urging the need for a severe punishment. The discussion about justice and fairness became central, focusing on what the community believed was right. Many felt sympathy for Ace's family. They shared stories and photos, creating a memorial online. This show of love made many reflect on the importance of mental well-being and how each person should matter. The voices of community members rang loud. This case reminded them of how precious life is and how quickly things can change. Although Michael was sentenced, some continued to express doubts about the case. Questions loomed over the reasons for such violence. Why had Michael reached that point? Why did no one see the signs earlier? These concerns sparked community discussions about the need for better understanding of mental health. Church groups and schools began to host forums, opening the floor for conversation and awareness. Eyebrows raised, and activists emerged, calling for support for those facing mental health challenges. Alongside these discussions, some conspiracy theories also started to circulate. People speculated about Michael's supposed mental state and whether others were involved in the crime. This led to further investigations. Some even claimed there were hidden factors that influenced Michael's actions. They questioned whether any signs had been overlooked. "What if?" became an echo through the town as doubts lingered despite the verdict. The media played a strong role in this push for answers. Journalists continued to follow up on the case. They researched mental health resources available in Springfield and revealed gaps in local services. Headlines emphasized the importance of addressing these issues to prevent future tragedies. This spotlight helped shed light on a community problem that had gone unnoticed for too long. As the months passed, debates continued. Some residents pushed for stricter regulations related to mental health awareness, advocating for early intervention resources. They believed that focusing on prevention could save lives in the future. Others held firmly to the need for robust legal consequences for such actions, cautioning the risk of leniency in severe crimes. Each side had strong opinions. Amid all this, memories of Ace Turner remained alive in the hearts of many. Memorials sprang up in parks, holding candlelight vigils to honor his life. These gatherings drew in family, friends, and supportive strangers, reminding everyone that Ace was more than just a victim. He was a vibrant part of many lives now deeply missed. At each event, there was a reminder of the kind spirit he embodied, and a promise to work towards change born from heartbreak and renewed hope. Michael's case became more than just another verdict. It transformed into a movement for awareness and healing in the community. The truth they all sought became a collective mission. The impact of Ace's story urged everyone to come together, embrace understanding, and start conversations that could change lives. Overall, the road to healing was still long, but the community took its first steps toward brighter changes for the future. As the case of Ace Turner came to a close, many questions lingered in the minds of both the community and those directly involved. Justice was served when Michael Reed was convicted of manslaughter, but many felt this did not completely address the tragedy of Ace's death. The legal system determined a significant sentence, but for Ace's family, the loss remained. They continued to mourn the vibrant life cut short far too soon. The pain of losing a son, a brother, and a friend never fully went away. While the case had concluded in court, survivors and community members were left reflecting on what had happened. Would a different sentence have changed Michael? Some believe that the justice system could have delivered a stronger message with a harsher punishment. Others argued that understanding the psychological reasons behind criminal behavior could help improve lives. The trial shed light on the deep-seated issues related to mental health in the community. Many began to question how society treats those struggling with psychological issues. Discussions sparked across town, emphasizing the importance of early intervention. Psychologists and community leaders came together to explore ways to provide better resources for those in need. This focus on awareness marked a lasting change in response to the tragic events that unfolded. Additionally, the case prompted law enforcement to review their policies regarding mental health training. The community opened dialogues on developing specialized programs to help first responders recognize and address mental health issues. These changes represented a shift toward a more compassionate approach to people in distress. The focus on prevention and support aimed to reduce the chances of similar tragedies occurring in the future. Despite these improvements, lingering questions remained. What drove Michael to such desperation? How could a moment of anger lead to irreversible consequences? Understanding human behavior is complex, and though many insights were gained, complete answers were still elusive. The psychological elements that lead to crime require deep examination. People often suffer hardships or mental barriers that can cloud their decisions, and understanding these factors is essential for meaningful change. As the community reflected on Ace's case, a shared responsibility grew stronger to advocate for change and education around mental health and crime prevention. The tragic event pushed people to take action and protect others who might face similar struggles. While they grieved the loss of Ace, they also sought to honor his memory through efforts that could lead to positive outcomes. In closing, the story of Ace Turner serves as a reminder of life's fragility and the importance of understanding one another. Could justice ever truly be served in this case? The answer remains complex. While a legal judgment was made, complete healing for Ace's family and community may ever be distant. The unresolved questions push people to think about their lives and those around them deeply. They remind everyone to continue advocating for those who are lost or in need. The tragic loss of Ace and the resulting changes could represent not only a farewell, but also a hopeful call to action for awareness and kindness within every community.